Today in history, in 1872, the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City opened to the public, and it later became one of the foremost museums in the world. Isn't that so nice when rich people used to build things for us and that was their tax write-off? Do you remember, everyone?
Welcome to What the Fuck History, where we discuss the wackiest and weirdest things that make us say, well, what the fuck history. I am your host, Zachary, and this week I will be stealing something from one of my co-hosts, and there's nothing they can do to stop me.
My name's Meghan, and now I'm scared, and my pockets are empty, or were they? Did Zach already take my things?
It's your teeth. I'm stealing everyone's
teeth.
No!
Not my teeth. My parents paid such good money for them.
And I'm Matt. Today I learned, and by today I mean 4 weeks ago when Zach's partner Lizard sent me these texts, some of the snakes in Raiders of the Lost Ark were a variety of legless lizards. They only ordered 3,000 of them, but ended up ordering 7,000 more because they had difficulty filming the scene. And it was difficult for them to film the scene doubly because the lizards were attracted to the warmth of the torches when they were supposed to be shying away from them. So they just kept, climbing to get closer to the warmth. Also, you'll notice that I did call Zach's partner Lizard because when she sent me these texts about lizards, I sent her a meme back that was like, what if every time you encounter someone named Liz, their real name was just Lizard?
That would be so funny.
Okay, but that is her full government name.
I know! She told me. It was really exciting.
E-Lizard Beth.
I was like, shit, I found the one. It's not Elizabeth, it's just Lizard. So anyways, that was kind of fun.
I think parents are
she sent me. I don't understand why she sends me these things at 11 o'clock at night.
Because we're weird nocturnal
people.
Are
not
but she does. She'll
Zach.
Send me a text at 11 o'clock at night. Starts with a wink always, which is always appreciated. And then she's like, "Did you know?" And I was like, "I'll find a way to use this." And then it's been 4 weeks, and so I'm using it now.
She's like, I have so many facts.
I think it's because, it's because, okay, so, there's the whole thing where, I know so many useless facts, and she also knows so many useless facts, but there has to be, a question that gets asked every time she tells me something, and I have to be like, is this a rock fact? Because sometimes, with the most confidence in the world, she'll say the most out-of-pocket thing and be like, that's a fact. And it's not. It's completely made up.
And you'll be like, is this a fact about rocks?
And then I'm just like, I'm sitting there being like, oh, that's really cool. And then she's like, starts laughing, and I'm like, it's not real,
is it? Oh my God. That's
okay.
So this is a very real thing that happened, but Alex is very good at, it's not lying, but it's wrapping lies in the truth. And one time he convinced... Yeah.
Oh, so a lie sandwich.
Yeah, it's like a lie sandwich.
A lie
but
sandwich?
He was sitting there, and we were looking up, Frank Sinatra. And he was, sitting there reading very real things about Frank Sinatra off of his phone from Wikipedia to my friend Jeremy. And he was just like, yeah, and Frank Sinatra also wrote Fly Me to the Moon when he went to Tokyo University and started learning about their space program. And Jeremy was like, wow, I never knew he went to Japan. And I looked at Alex and I was like, you have to tell him you're lying because you sound like you're telling the truth because you're looking at your phone and haven't broken stride.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but that's the best kind of comedic timing
so funny.
When it comes to coming up with bullshit things. Because it's just with that much confidence or that perfect insertion, it's just everyone's gonna think you're right, and then you're like, just kidding, I fucking got you.
I think what's really fun about doing a history podcast is that I can say some random shit in and around my office. And they're all sitting in front of computers. They could all look it up.
They could look it up.
Go look it up.
Go look it up. Do it.
I could say some shit and they'd just be like, "That's not true, is it?"
It is though.
I'd be like, "You remember that time that Napoleon almost got killed by rabbits?" And they're just like, "No." Hey, we should start this podcast.
Yeah, Matt's been recording for roughly
I know
9
that
hours right now.
Huh?
You've been recording for 9 hours.
It has been about 9 hours, yeah. Let me check the timestamp.
Yeah, what's the tag?
Yeah, I did start this morning. Or like earlier.
Let's get a
earlier
timestamp.
the afternoon.
Can we get a timestamp on that? Thank you.
So we've set our strikes to 0. We've played a game of rock, paper, scissors that we made up entirely in our own heads. And the order for cohesion tonight was decided that it will be me, followed by Zachary, followed then by Meghan. And we did have a discussion earlier that patrons will be able to hear that we're going to put Meghan first a few times because, she hasn't been at the forefront in a while. And we miss her up there.
Thanks.
So, I'm going to start. I'm going back to Cali, and that's as far as I can sing that song before we get killed. I'm talking about our boy with many names, Adrian Carton de Vart. I don't know if that's how you say his name, and I don't care. But when we last left our struggling hero, he had been shot full of holes and lost some important parts of him. But canonically said that he enjoyed it, so, if you need...
Canonically.
What a fucking sadist.
I just really love him getting to the end of World War I with so many bullet holes and him just being like, I enjoyed my time.
I thought it was a good war.
It wasn't bad,
It wasn't, I've had worse
lost
wars.
an eye, lost an arm, pulled my own fingers off.
I mean, whatever.
If you need more of a recap than that, though, go back and listen to the first episode that I did about him because I'm not doing much else.
Honestly, he's like every character in Jujutsu Kaisen at least once, so...
So after World War I, Adrian made his way to Poland. And after engaging in a world war where you got shot 10 times, lost your eye and an arm, you'd stay out of conflict. But he went to Poland to fuck around in another war.
Hell yeah.
And by another war, I mean like 5 other wars. Because Poland, at the time that he was visiting, was engaged in, count them with me, kids, the Polish-Soviet War. So that's one.
Count that with you.
There was the Polish-Ukrainian War. That's 2.
2.
There was the Polish-Lithuanian War.
Yeah. 2.
So that's 3.
Oh,
and then
I'm
there's the Polish-Czech Republican conflicts, or the Czech-Polish conflicts.
Is that 4? Are we at 4?
Which
4.
I guess isn't. It's like 3.5. I guess.
3.5 wars, yeah.
But yeah. So he decided to go visit Poland while they were fighting a war on 18 different fronts.
Good for him.
But as I mentioned in our previous episode about Adrian here, he is a gentleman. He's rich. He's a silver spoon type, born rich, knows a lot of rich people. And so while he's in Poland, he's just fucking hobnobbing. Like, if it was an Olympic sport, this guy would have won gold at the age of 2 and just kept racking them up. Because he, like, hangs out with a bunch of important people that I'm not going to name because the list is extensive. And, like, there's a whole portion of his history where he, like, acts as a second in a duel, a pistol duel, which I didn't even think was still a thing when this was going on, but I guess it was. But he's, like, talking to future kings and hanging out with all these people. So... important to note that he's in the know.
Yes.
He's hobnobbing with a bunch of Polish important people. His whole thing while he's in Poland is he's trying to get some support for them because, as I mentioned, they're fighting 3.5 wars. He goes back to England to try and drum up support and gets no real ground there. And goes back to Poland, and he's basically just like, hey, I'm gonna hang out here and help you guys out. And so he engages in multiple skirmishes while he's in and around the area.
I got nothing better to do. I might as well fight a war.
Yeah, I'm already missing an arm. Might as well try to lose the second one.
I don't need it.
But it's important to note that his support of the Polish people did not earn him any points with certain political figures. They were just standing on the sidelines giving him, like, some weird stares. But because he's just so good at shrugging off shrapnel, he shrugs off those side eyes too, so...
Yeah, shrugs off the hate.
Fuck yeah. You can't see the haters when you've got these fucking
That's
glasses.
so true.
Yeah. Or when you've got an eye patch.
Fuck these haters. Fuck these hoes.
Yeah.
So at one point during his time in Poland, Adrian becomes the aide-de-camp to the king himself. And then the king temporarily appoints him as colonel. I don't know how I can stress this to you guys, but this man gets more temporary appointments to positions of power than anyone should.
Yes.
Not only does he have, like, so many names, I think he's been temporarily appointed to a thing above his station at least 10 times in his history by now. Which is nuts.
I love that for him.
It's great. If, he didn't keep losing body parts.
He's gonna run out.
Hey, look, you gotta make some sacrifices when you want to be set above your station.
I just feel like he's
when you want
not
to
gonna
get
have
accidental appointments to colonel.
If I want to get promoted and I have to lose a finger for it, that's a small price to pay.
Which finger would you lose?
That's a hard...
Pinky?
Pinky,
Probably,
fuck it, it's
yeah.
redundant.
That's a really
Yeah.
hard question. No, I wouldn't lose my thumb.
It's the dumbest finger.
It is a pretty dumb finger.
one?
I don't
Wait.
know anyone who's used their
Oh, yeah,
pinky
the
for
pinky.
anything.
Technically not even a finger.
What is it?
True. Just a
You
digit.
only have 3 fingers.
Just a superfluous digit. Yeah, because you've got your pointer, your middle, and your ring. And then
Ring.
you've got the thumb
And
and the
those are your
pinky.
fingers.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The thumb and the pinky are 2 different things. They're alien entities all together. Think about that, Megan. Did we just blow your mind a little?
A little bit, yeah. I'm soaking it in.
So anyways, he gets a temporary appointment to the position of colonel. He is present in Warsaw when the Soviet army marches on the city and is on a train while the Soviet cavalry are approaching, and he's just shooting at people from a train with a revolver, which is just a badass thing to think about. It's important to note also that he fell off the train and got back on shortly after.
All right,
but,
good for him.
Like, it is kind of cool to think that he is just, like, out on a train shooting. So he stays in Poland for all these wars, and eventually they win the wars that they've got going on there. And he decides, not really decides, he retires from the military to a piece of wetlands that was, quote, larger than Ireland.
I don't know what that means.
Oh.
And
What do you mean?
it was given to him by one of his friends.
Why did he just have that?
So, your guess is as good as mine. And apparently he spent his time in retirement hunting on the wetlands and generally just enjoying himself. But he was there for 15 years. And he says, not a single day was not spent hunting.
Not a
but then
single
the worst
day.
thing happens.
24/7.
What?
The worst thing happens?
Hunting 24/7.
Yeah, he was hunting 24/7.
That could also be perceived as the worst thing ever. Yeah, the worst thing happens, Zach. He gets pulled into another of the world wars.
I fail to see how that's the worst thing for him.
Namely, he gets pulled into the sequel to World War One.
Happens to the best of us.
You know, the movie poster says same bad guys but a whole new plot. So he's like, oh, let me kill some Germans.
Again.
It's also important to note that he spends a lot of World War II not killing Germans. So, but anyways, Adrian gets called back to active duty in July of 1939. He gets sent over to Poland because he had history with the region and with the political figures there. But as he's there, he's giving a lot of advice, and he's not really being listened to at all. And eventually,
No, because why would you listen to the guy who went through the whole other First World War?
Right. He and his forces end up being forced to evacuate eventually from where they were stationed. And surprise, surprise, his convoy gets attacked while he's on his way out. And surprise, surprise, he manages to stay alive through it all. And I think at this point we can just say that being around this man is just asking to be attacked by literally anything.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Like, I think this guy is just Magneto, but only for bullets.
Yeah, and he doesn't stop them. He just...
No, he just...
He takes him to the face.
He just takes it to the chin. So anyways, after having to retreat in Poland, Adrian gets moved to the Norwegian front in 1940, and he is again forced to retreat. It's a lot of detail in his backstory on all this, so if you guys are interested, definitely go read up. But it's a lot. He knows a lot of people. He gets moved around a lot. So after the Norwegian campaign, where they were forced to retreat, he gets shipped to Ireland, where the person in charge over there tells him that he's too old for a role in active leadership. And at the time, he was 60 years old. He doesn't stay on the sidelines for long, though, because he's eventually sent to Yugoslavia. And as I mentioned, he's walking bad luck, so his plane engines fail.
Classic.
Oh my gosh.
While they're flying to Yugoslavia, and they land or they crash into the sea close enough for the people who survived the crash to swim to shore. And while they're swimming to, or once they've swum to shore, and of course he survives, they get captured by Italians.
Damn it, the Italians.
Which I guess...
Damn it, Italians.
I guess isn't the worst people to be captured by, but like
no.
it's important to note that they were the bad guys here.
Hold up, this is
World War II.
Benito Mussolini Italians. This is some of the worst people.
Yeah, these are
you're
Mussolini
absolutely
Italians.
right. I'm
and
forgetting.
They may have lost Ethiopia.
I'm thinking of today time Italians, not then time
these
Italians.
aren't manja Italians. These are Italians with some teeth.
Yeah, you're right. That's my bad, guys. I forgot we were doing a history podcast. I forgot the setting.
Yeah, they became manja.
So anyways, they
later.
get captured by the Italians. He becomes a prisoner of war, where, of course, he makes new friends. He and his new friends try to break out on 5 separate occasions, one of which involved 7 months of tunneling. He managed to stay free at one point for 8 days because he was pretending to be an Italian peasant. Important to note that he didn't speak Italian.
I love that.
So, but what ends up happening is one day the Italian government send him to Rome because they were trying to get out of the war and they wanted Adrian to help them talk talk a peace treaty with the British government, and so he does that, and they say in order for them to get him to England, they need to dress him like a civilian, and he agrees to that, saying, as long as I don't look like a gigolo, I'm fine.
That's a little offensive.
A little bit,
least,
yeah.
I think.
Zach's like, wait a minute. Wait
As
just
long
on
as
a
I don't
second.
look like a man of the night.
wait a gosh darn second.
Hold on.
I might
So
be
yeah,
offended.
so he's home for a month,
Oh, okay.
and then Winston Churchill himself
Yeah.
sends Adrian to China.
Okay. As you do.
My notes were already pretty long, so I didn't go into a ton of detail about his engagement in China or East Asia or wherever he ends
Yeah,
up. But
well, you're
it's important to note that he bounces around Asia, hobnobs, and does his thing, and the war ends while he's out there. And like I said, I'm shortening all this because my notes were pretty long to begin with. And like I said, you can also look it up if you're more curious about what all he did or the people that he rubbed elbows with. But while he was visiting people in... I can't remember exactly where it was, and I don't have it in my notes. He ends up falling down a flight of stairs. He breaks some vertebrae in his spine, and he eventually recovers because
why wouldn't
why
he?
not?
I guess he can't be killed.
Because this is a man that can't be killed. And unfortunately for him, his wife with many names dies in 1949. But not to be alone the rest of his life. He remarries in 1951. At the ripe old age of 71, he marries a woman named Ruth Myrtle Muriel Joan
Oh,
McKinney.
Jesus Christ.
Why that many more names? Why?
just so-
Well, I mean, it's half the names that the other woman had,
Well,
so...
you take on only the best
guess.
names of your predecessor.
He and his new wife settle down in Cork County, Ireland, and Adrian lives to the ripe old age of 83 before he dies, presumably by having an entire plane crash into him or something. The details of his death are not well advertised, but I'd imagine that he got struck by...
the immortal lizard people don't want you to know how to actually kill them, so...
Exactly,
Yeah,
right. So anyways, that's the
Jeez.
story of the man with too many names and the wives with far too many names. And yeah, like I said, there's a lot that I didn't... I mean, there are a lot of names in his history that I just didn't bother. Like, if I had been mentioning everyone that he went to lunch with, we would have been here for 7.5 years. Which is already how long I've been recording, so... But anyways, yeah.
Jeez. Well, that was a fucking time.
Yeah.
What an interesting guy. And I'm ready to talk about another interesting guy.
Is he,
I'm
y'all
ready.
have a moment.
I want
is
to
he
hear
a
about
gentleman
him.
crimesman?
So, I was actually going to say, is this a good time before we segue into my story to segue into our
Wait, do you want to do the...
little friend?
Do you want to do the thing?
Likes... We can do the thing. You want to
Yeah,
do the
I
thing?
can do the thing. I hope we're...
I'm in the dark.
I hope
Yeah,
we're
you-
on the same page about the thing.
I mean,
What's the thing that we're doing?
We're gonna...
Is it the
sponsor.
ad
Yeah,
read?
we're gonna do the...
yeah.
Oh, God.
That's our little thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, no, yeah, okay.
Well-
I'm glad we were all definitely on the exact same
Yeah,
page.
that's... Imagine if I launched into something completely and utterly different, though. Just like a tirade.
Completely unrelated.
I
with
think one
nothing.
time we should all just try and do ad spots at the exact same time.
I think so, too.
but for wildly
think that's
different
awful and
products.
I love it. I love that idea. It's awful.
All right, so...
Yeah, no, it's bad.
It is my turn to do the thing this week, and I'm here to tell you all about our sponsors at Magic Mind. So pretty much like I have a very strange schedule. And I will go to work at like 2:30 in the afternoons 3 days out of the week. So I sort of do like the evening shift at a library, but then my problem with staying awake sort of arises at the latter half of the week, where I go and I have to wake up very early at like 5 in the morning to go do very physical work with my parents. And I'll have a coffee like right before we'll go out, and that'll get me through like the bulk of the day. But I end up hitting like this horrible crash come like 2 in the afternoon when there's
You guys all know what it's like. You don't.
Yeah, you guys all know what the crash is.
You know, right?
Yeah.
You guys know, right?
But I don't want to have like a massive influx of caffeine like at that point in the day, because I'm going to end up staying up way too late. Like, I'm not looking to run a marathon. So as I've been trying Magic Mind, it's nice because, like my co-hosts have said, it gives you like this little boost, this like nice awakeness that is unlike caffeine, where you feel like a shot of adrenaline with that. This is more like okay, well, now I can sort of like make it through the rest of the day. And then like you can...
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you're alive, but you're not like, fuck, I'm alive.
Yeah.
I'm alive, but at what cost?
I'm alive, but at what cost? But with this, it's sort of like, oh, nice. Like, I don't feel like I have to take a nap, or like I'm going to be a vegetable on the sofa. I can sort of like continue to have a bit of productivity until like it is time to go to bed. And then you're not fighting to go to sleep. And that's really important to me, is not fighting to go to sleep so I can then like get up early again before I have to recalibrate my whole sleep schedule for the beginning of the week. So overall, I recommend it. It sounds like, you know, my friends here do too. And yeah, thank you, Magic Mind. And we have a new code, don't we, Zach?
Yes, we do. We do. So if you go to www.magicmind.com/whistory and enter our code WHistory20, you're going to get a discount on the Magic Mind itself.
Nice.
So, yep, that's WHistory20 as the code, and magicmind.com/WHistory. It's pretty easy. You know, I don't think they wanted to put WTF, but I think that's understandable.
Understandable.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, we just got that new code today, so it should be
It'll work.
super fresh for
Super
everyone.
fresh, the freshest of
It'll work
codes.
for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm trying to look back on my email real quick to see how much the discount is. I think it's like 20%. It's a
That's pretty
pretty
good.
discount.
Which is good.
So, yes.
Good. And now, back to
Yeah, it's
Zach
20%. It's
with
20%
his
off your
story.
discount.
20%
Oh,
off.
shit.
So, yeah, 20% off your order of Magic Mind with that code, which again is WHistory20, and at magicmind.com/WHistory. But yes,
Cool.
Thank you very much, Megan, for doing the thing. You know the thing
Yeah,
we
that
talked
thing
about?
that we talked about that we were definitely on the same
You
page
know.
about.
The thing.
But now back to regular programming.
Yes. So, my story tonight is about something that I have stolen from one of my co-hosts.
My heart?
And always,
No.
Matt, always.
He said it was our teeth.
He did say it was our
I
teeth.
did say it was your teeth. That was a lie, though.
Oh my god.
Tonight, I am engaging in thievery, as I said, and this thievery is, in fact, from Meghan, because Meghan is normally the one who talks about all things Eastern history, but tonight, I am stealing that, and I am discussing the great Ishikawa Goemon of Japan.
Feel like that's a strike.
Man, this guy's wild. So, here's the thing. I thought you'd say that,
Uh-huh.
and it feels fitting, and I reject any strikes that you are giving me for this action because Goemon was a notable thief, and therefore it all connects, and I think that's okay.
He's a gentleman's crime.
Well, I also thought that you were stealing Megan's persona of never accepting the strikes that we give her. So
he's also stealing that.
Never. I would never. That's too far. That's too far.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just stealing a Japanese history story.
So rude.
So it's so rude of me.
It's
I know.
one less that I can do now.
I don't know if you'd ever cover this one because so the problem with the story of Goemon is the fact that he very quickly became a folk hero. So a lot of his origins are mere speculation. Oh. There's a lot of Procopius method to some of this story.
Classic.
So classic. But the prevailing tale of Goemon is thus. He was born as, I'm going to totally butcher this, so please forgive me. My Japanese is awful, because I don't know any Japanese. He was born Sana Kuranashin. That's butchered,
you're
but
gonna
again,
have to send that one to me. Not that I speak Japanese.
Yeah, I will. I'll put it in the Discord.
Thank God.
Thank God for the Discord, yes. But he was born in 1558 to a family that were samurai under the service of the Miyoshi clan. Which, hey, I mean, guessing decent living and decent upbringing. Yeah, sure, you're servant to a feudal lord, but...
Zach, you were close.
You're also servant to a feudal lord at the time, and you're doing pretty good for yourself, probably.
Yeah, you were pretty close. Kuranoshin?
Kuranoshin?
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't crazy. Yeah, so Sana Kuranoshin.
Yeah.
Was
that
Goemon's
just rolls
birth
off
name.
the fucking tongue. Can we say that?
Oh,
Sana Kuranoshin?
It does.
Yeah, that's a good...
It's so... It has a great mouthfeel.
Yeah, that's a good name.
So, here's the thing. Japanese names, once you learn how, the phonetics are kind of supposed to go, they do just roll off the tongue.
They are a little bit musical. It's great.
They are. It's great.
It's a good time.
So... Yes, his family was in service to the Miyoshi clan, and that all changed when the sorry, again, I was really confident, and now I fucked up.
Hey, if you do everything with confidence, you'll get it.
I will. But that all changes when the Ashikaga shogunate attacks.
The Fire Nation.
The Fire Nation.
that was what I was going for. So here's the thing. Yes, you are correct, Matt. Essentially, the Fire Nation. In the battle from this attack, his father and, according to some accounts, his mother as well, are killed, leaving 15-year-old Sana to fend for himself with no training for anything whatsoever.
He is the next Avatar.
Not really, but sure, we'll go with that.
I live for the uncomfortable pause that was
So, with nowhere to go and nothing to do, he ends up meeting up with this guy called Momochi Tamba, where he studies the art of ninjutsu. Because, hell yeah, we're getting samurai and ninjas in this episode. 7-year-old me is so fucking stoked right now.
We love that.
We love that for my inner child. However, the apprenticeship under Tamba does not last too long because Tamba catches the now named Goemon fucking one of his mistresses, and Goemon is forced to flee.
Classic.
Because hell yeah,
brother.
Forced
to flee.
Yeah, when your master catches you fucking his side piece, I think you're gonna leave.
And he also can't, bring it up. You know what I mean? It's why is this guy no longer here? Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
We can't talk about it. His wife's asking. Why isn't this servant here anymore?
Oh, you know.
I'm not very familiar on, the exact cultures of feudal Japan.
Yeah, me neither.
But I think it was very common practice to have mistresses.
It probably was.
Yeah.
So I think it was oh yes, my mistress, which that's a normal thing to say.
And that's what we call a yes and, everybody.
Exactly. But yes, before Goemon does flee, he goes and steals his teacher's prized sword because why not? You fucked his favorite mistress, you might as well steal his favorite thing too, I guess. But after his teaching of ninjutsu is kind of like when things get a little bit muddled in his story, simply because at that point he starts doing some crazy thievery and stealing a lot of stuff, and a lot of stealing and infamy and other things around that time kind of get attributed to him, whether or not it's actually true. And some of these things involved moving to the Kansai region and forming his own network of thieves. And this whole network of thieves then robbed feudal lords, rich merchants, and other peoples in power so that they could share all this loot with the oppressed peasants, because fuck yeah, every culture needs a Robin Hood figure, and this one is Japan's Robin Hood figure. And therefore, Matt, as you said, making him, dun dun dun,
a gentleman
a heinous
crimesman.
gentleman of history.
We love
a segment I am bringing back for some reason.
Well, it should have.
Not for some reason.
Yeah.
You've told some great stories about gentleman crimesmen.
That's true. And
Heinous gentlemen of crimes.
Heinous gentleman of history. I did bury the lead there, but we're here. Ninja dust.
Ninja dust.
The ninja dust got me so off guard.
It's supposed to. That's how you run away.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
it would have worked on me
crazy-
just now, I'll tell you that.
Other crazy actions attributed to Goemon was the attempt of the poisoning of Oda Nobunaga. Again, I can read faster than I can talk. He was attributed with having to attempted the poisoning of Oda Nobunaga, the daimyo of Japan at the time, and he also did this whole. My God, I can't talk tonight. I apologize so much.
Honestly, you're having to deal with a lot of new words too.
I am, but yes. So he tries to poison the daimyo of Japan, which go for him, I guess. But then the story of his final exploit is when he tries to kill Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Mm-hmm. And Toyotomi was a feudal warlord of Japan at the time and had a lot of run-ins with Goemon, because Goemon was, again, robbing the shit out of him.
Classic.
At all times. Yep. And giving it to the poor people. And so Toyotomi Hideyoshi captures Goemon's son and is basically like, if you want him, come and fucking get him. I double dog dare you. And this is where the downfall of Goemon comes in, because there's two different accounts of how this goes. The first one is that Hideyoshi captures Goemon's son and kills Goemon's wife, and Goemon then sneaks into Fushimi Castle, where, like an absolute amateur, he knocks over a bell and is quickly captured by the guards.
Yeah.
Because, hey, you win some, you lose some, even if you're the greatest thief in feudal Japan.
He forgot his ninja dust that day.
He forgot his ninja dust that time. And the second account claims that Goemon wanted to kill Hideyoshi simply because Hideyoshi was a horrible despot. And I guess that's relatable. You know, me too, Goemon, me too. And
Me too, I get it.
Me too. Kill all the despots. And in this instance, he also sneaks into Fushimi Castle, and this time, instead of knocking over a bell, he's detected by a mystical incense burner. Less likely, more cool, whatever. Either way, the result is the same, and Ishikawa Goemon is captured by the guard at Fushimi Castle. And he is sentenced to death. And it's real fucking weird and real fucking awful because the method of death that is picked for him is absurd.
I bet it's gonna be horrible. Like, no offense, but a lot of samurai deaths, not great.
Oh, yeah. So, do you want to take any guesses as to how this man was put to death?
They cut him open and let a horse drag away his innards while he was still alive.
I don't know, dude. Was it disembowelment?
It wasn't disembowelment. I think it's actually worse than disembowelment.
Oh, God. Did they have something to eat him?
No.
Go ahead. Was it a well? Did it have something to do with
Did
a
they
well?
have him eat something?
Ishikawa Goemon was sentenced to death by the way of the lobster.
I don't...
And by that,
Nice.
I mean they stuck him in a giant pot of boiling water.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
That's horrible.
And
That's
on top
not
of
how that works.
The son that was captured was also boiled alive with him.
Oh, good.
I really thought
So-
they put him in a room with one lobster for a minute, and I was like, pick it up.
Turns out that he's terribly allergic to
I was
lobsters
like,
and just dies.
Just stay away from
Just
it.
as a horrible, crushing shellfish allergy. No, Goemon and his son were put in a giant kettle and boiled to death. And there's, again, because it's Goemon and because there's, like, different accounts of how it went, all accounts of him say that he basically stood in this pot boiling alive, holding his son over his head so that the kid wouldn't boil.
Oh, damn.
And basically did that until his whole body gave up and he, like, could not survive and just crumpled into the boiling pot. Some say that he saved his son this way and his son was then forgiven and, like, allowed to live. And some say that that didn't happen and the kid also died. So...
Believe the
Either
happier
way-
story, guys.
I'll believe the happier story. Yeah, either way, he gets boiled alive in a pot of water, and that's the end of Goemon. But it's... Goemon as a character in, like, Japanese folklore and folk hero tales is wild. He's been the subject of, like, a bunch of kabuki plays, and he still continues to, like, be a character that is depicted in modern media. Like, I learned about Goemon because I've been playing Persona 5. And he's not, like, a character that you can interact with, but, like, for anyone who knows anything about Persona 5, he is one of the personas that one of the characters gets. So, like, you just have this giant Goemon in the background, and you're just like, okay, this is a character. And then I was like, they're like, you have to take classes in the game, and they talk about Goemon for like 5 seconds, and I was like, I gotta look this guy up, because boiling alive in a pot like a lobster sounds like an interesting way to go.
I want to see this man.
I need to learn more about this man. So yeah, like, he continues to be a prevailing character in, like, Japanese folklore. And for good reason. Like, he basically was their, again, like, the Western equivalent in my brain is like Robin Hood. There was a bunch of, like, anti-feudal lord and a bunch of, like thief movements that were, like, attributed to him. And very much, like, overly exaggerated skills with sneaking and thievery, but he was known to be, like, this outlaw hero. And I don't know, I fuck with outlaw heroes.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. And also, again, I still can't overstate, like, what a way to go. Execution by boiling. I've never heard that one before, and I've heard some weird shit.
That's strange.
What?
But yes, he's a wild
boiling.
time.
Oh,
The boiling.
The boiling is a weird way.
And, like, also there's...
is a weird way to go. Like I said,
Yeah.
though, like, a lot of samurai deaths are strange. Or not strange, they're just, like, very violent.
They're elaborate.
Oh, yeah.
And elaborate, yeah.
But, like, there's also some wild fucking art of this guy. Like, I'm sending it in the Discord, and it's just like, oh my god.
Holy shit.
Why they,
Yeah, that's
why
a
did they
piece
have to put my brother in a
entitled The
ramen
Execution
bowl?
of Goemon Ishikawa.
Why did they put him in a ramen bowl? They didn't have to do that in this drawing.
Why did they put him in a ramen bowl? No!
Why they draw him in a ramen bowl?
Oh my god.
He's like, no, the ramen.
Jeez.
Oh, God.
Well, now that I can only see him as a packet of instant noodles, I need to be done. Someone else take the wheel.
He's just in a ramen bowl.
Get your Ishikawa Goemon brand top ramen.
Get the top ramen. So unfortunately, we're not leaving Japan.
I see. I fail to see how that's unfortunate.
I was gonna say I don't think that.
Sorry.
This
For
is
all
the
you weebs out there,
unfortunateness that
fortunately, we're not leaving Japan.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, my story, because I thought this title was funny for all of you weebs out there, once again, for all of you that love Naruto, it's the Utsura Bune no Jutsu. It has nothing to do with ninja techniques. I just thought it sounded like a ninja technique. So, I like Legends, obviously. We were talking about Legends earlier in our group chat. Steve was telling us this really cool, like, creation story. But I think what's really cool about them is that they seldom come out of nowhere. And I think that makes them, like, real life mysteries that no one has enough evidence to solve. And because, like, it's just like a game of telephone at that point. They're like, I saw this weird thing, and no one can really refute it because there were no cameras back then.
Yeah. I also love the aspect of it where it's just like it feels so much because Steve was talking about, like the native people and all this shit. I just feel like it's like someone listening to grandma tell stories.
Yeah.
But grandma's mind has started to go a little bit.
Yeah, grandma's mind's
And
not
it's
there.
just like a beaver flooded the world and a blue jay made a boat.
Made a boat to save everybody, and a wolf made that boat into the land that we know it today. And you're like, okay.
It wasn't a blue jay, guys, and Steve's gonna get at me for that.
It was a Canadian
but
jay.
I don't want to look in the Canadian jay. You're right.
It was a Canadian jay. We learned a lot about birds today. But I mean, you're right, because like the people observing like certain things had no basis for them, and so they were like, "Holy shit, is that demons? Do you think that's demons?" Because we have no idea what it actually could be. So this particular story comes to us all the way from Japan, as most good things do, like Top Ramen. And I'm sure the weebs in the chat will agree. So the day that this happened was February 22nd, 1803, to be exact. The time unknown, but location off the coast of Hitachi Pleasure... I laughed at my own joke. I couldn't say it.
I love it when you do this.
I couldn't say it. Oh, God. So the line reads, the time unknown, but off the coast of Hitachi Pleasure One Prefecture. And I couldn't deliver it because I made myself laugh. So...
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, it wasn't actually. It was Hitachi Prefecture, just not Hitachi Pleasure Wand, obviously.
Obviously.
I love that she had to point out the part of the joke that she made funny. Because I don't think either of us would have picked up on it, to be honest.
Are you saying I don't know what a Hitachi magic wand is?
I'll be honest with you. I didn't know.
Do you want me
But
to
I
send?
guess
Do you
you
want me
are
to
the
send a
podcast
picture
daddy,
of the
Zach,
Hitachi pleasure wand? I sent Zach sent a picture of his guy.
I don't need you.
Yeah.
No, I don't need you to send
You don't
that.
want that? Okay.
I mean, send it if you want.
No,
but,
it's
like,
fine.
If you've got one handy.
We all know what they look like. So some
We do.
fishermen saw a strange vessel drifting in the sea, and having not learned anything from horror movies that had yet to be created, they towed the vessel ashore and discovered it was about 10 feet high, because I assume they immediately got out like the fucking measure tape. And
Yeah, the tape measure.
yeah, they were just like, oh wow, that's fucking crazy. It's 10 feet high. And they were like, it's 17 feet wide, exactly. It was oval, like an incense burner, and they said like the upper part appeared to be made of red lacquered rosewood, and the bottom was covered with metal plates, which I don't know much about boat building, but it seems weird. It wouldn't be my first choice on how to make a boat, but maybe I'm wrong. So
Maybe. Who knows?
who can say?
Boat builders in the chat. Let us know.
Boat builders in the chat. I'm not a boatsman. So
A boatsman.
a
A gentleman
a
boatsman.
shipwright? Is there
No, boatsman is correct.
is
Boatsman is better.
Boatsman's better. So the upper part of the ship had several windows made of glass, but they were covered in bars and maybe tree sap. They were unclear on the tree sap. Inside the vessel, the walls were sort of like wallpapered with written text in a language that was unknown to them, but in the pictures that they drew later of what they had seen, some of the symbols look like Korean. They also found like bed sheets, a bottle filled with water, some cake, meat, like food, things that would, keep a human alive. And then the, piece de resistance, they found a lady. She was alive.
Oh.
Yeah, they just found a lady.
Just a
Was
lady.
was she an alien lady?
So, I mean, I'll let you be the judge. So, she was around 18 to 20 years old, very alien-like.
Yes, of course.
Of course. She was about 5 feet tall, which is normal for this time. Just normal
Yeah.
lady stuff.
Yeah.
And for most ladies.
Yeah, for
so
most
nothing
ladies.
alien so far.
Yeah, so
Beyond her being 18 to 20.
yeah, that's the weirdest part. 18 to 20. So she was hot, I guess. So what was weird was her hair, which was red. And in Japan, that's strange because it's associated with demons. But it was also elongated by like white extensions that were made from like fur or textile like strips that had been tied into it. And this wasn't a hairstyle that was really found anywhere else. Or at least that the Japanese knew of at the time. The lady was also like a very pale pink color, which could just mean that she was white, like extremely pale.
She was a white
She was
woman?
just a white lady who was a little flushed. I mean, I get pink too. And her clothes were smooth and long. And obviously no one understood her, and she couldn't understand the fishermen when they asked where she was from, but she seemed friendly and courteous. But she was also weird, because the other thing that she had was like a box.
A box. What's
And
in the box?
and in that box was all of the world's evils.
Yeah.
And in that box was Brad Pitt's dead
Wife's head. I was about
Spoilers
to say
for
husband.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys.
You're joking, but let's...
Oh
When
no!
it was Brad Wife's dead Brad Pitt's
Yeah.
dead wife's head.
I hear you.
Sally sells seashells by the seashore.
I just had a stroke.
I hear all the syllables you're saying, not necessarily in the order you want them.
Voices made sense separately.
Yeah, they made sense separately, not necessarily together. So she had this box, and it was made of pale material, and it was also 2 feet long. And
Jesus.
yeah, it was a big box.
That's too many feet.
It's too many feet. And no one was allowed to touch the box. And one of my favorite parts of this story is that when faced with this strange incident, the people in this Japanese village started theory crafting. They started coming up with their own fucking fan fiction about this lady and her box.
Makes the freaking frogs gay.
Yeah, they were essentially like, oh, we love manga, whatever that is. We haven't invented that yet, but we're about to.
But we fucking love it.
We love webcomics, so strap in. And they were like, okay, what if she's a princess and she like got married, but then she had an affair and it caused a scandal and her lover was killed, and then the princess was banned from her home but not put to death because she's so kind and so good. And so they gave her this weird round vessel, this weird ship to go travel in, and the box, inside the box is the head of her dead lover. And they're like,
oh, I was not far off. Okay.
You weren't far. They were just like, what if? They never opened the box. They never confirmed this. And
Okay.
Why?
well, it would have been rude to take her box.
That's fair.
Like, you can't ask. She can't understand you. So, not really knowing what to do with her, the fishermen brought her back to the boat and, like, let her drift back to the sea. They were like, return from whence you came, sort of like letting a fish go.
What?
They were like, go. So, the first investigations into this incident occurred in 1844. Now, remember, this incident occurred in 1803. So, we're, like, 40 years removed from it at this point before they start investigating it. Like, I guess, like, so much had changed that they were, like, ready to tackle this mystery. They were like, okay, we've evolved enough. There was a Japanese historian who had gone to Russia at this time and posited that this lady was Russian because her clothes looked like theirs and she had red hair, like some Russians. And sometimes Russians, like, dusted their hair with white powder. However, this hair fashion was popular in the 1780s and would have been pretty out of date by 1803. But it is a possibility, but it also still doesn't clear up why she's doing it. More investigations in the 1920s reveal that circular boats that she sort of like arrived in weren't unusual in Japan, but the metal plating and the glass windows were. Like, there wasn't really a precedent for those things to be on the boat. And the investigators argued that these were added pieces to the story, like in historical telephone, to convince people who doubted the authenticity of the story, by saying, like, well, the boat had metal plates and glass windows, so that means that, like, it could survive in the open seas, and that's how it made it to Japan. And yeah, so, like, they're positing that they started making things up to make the story more believable. It is also possible that because this was during the Edo period, when Japan was still closed off from the world, that it isn't unusual that Japanese fishermen had no idea what the fuck other cultures were doing at the time. Like, this could have been a very normal occurrence of a shipwreck, like with a lady showing up, instead of an encounter of the third kind. Because remember, Japan had been closed off since the beginning of the 1600s. And by the 1800s, like, the world had wildly industrialized. Like, people looked different. And that could have been weird.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the fact that this is a very well documented case of something that, like, the facts of which are just like a little bit off. Like things don't really jive. Like who was this lady? Like where did she come from? Why did she have this boat if it was Japanese in origin and she clearly wasn't? So I thought this story was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty definitely cool, fucking weird.
It's a weird story.
Imagine seeing a white lady for the first time and thinking she's an alien.
Yeah, imagine seeing a white person and being like, that's from space.
Space!
That's from space. Arms wide open.
I mean, hey.
Who hasn't seen a white lady and thought that she was from space, though?
I
mean, I have, you know.
I was telling Alex about this story, and he was like, I wish this happened not in Japan. And I was like, why? And he was like, because the Japanese have, like, some of the weirdest explanations for shit. Like, they'll be like one of their... So they have a lot of yokai, right? Like, just mythological monsters. And one of them is just a short, fat snake. Like, they're like, oh, don't go into the woods. The short, fat snake is there. And everyone's like, well, is it dangerous? It's like, nope, it's just a shorter than average snake that's really fat. And it's like, oh, is that a normal animal?
Okay.
Like, that could just be a normal animal. And you're like, oh, no, it's a demon. And so he was like,
no, it's just a fat snake.
It's just a fat snake. And
they encountered a snake one time that had just finished a meal, and they were like, this is the deadliest creature in the woods.
Yeah, they're like, that's definitely a yokai. And he was like, I wish that this had happened, like, somewhere else that could give a little bit more explanation and did not just immediately jump to, this is a fucking supernatural
event.
This
has to be an alien.
Yeah, this has to be an alien.
There's no other choice.
That's gonna be a fat snake. That's a fat monster snake.
Jeez. Well, you know, we got what we got, and I'm not upset about it, so...
I think it provides a far more interesting story than if this person had just washed up somewhere else.
Oh, good. You said the Hitachi
like
Pleasure
if this person had just washed up somewhere else, and it's like, oh, this is a Russian person. They're speaking Russian.
As much as I agree with Alex being like, man, I wish it was anywhere else because then it wouldn't have been just weird off the bat. I also say, hey, I'm here for the completely illogical response.
Oh, yeah. I'm here for them being unhinged, but then I have to also remember... Yes. They got a yokai that's just a giant foot that wants you to wash it. Like, you gotta take it with a grain of salt.
Man, this shit's fucking weird. And on that note, now that feet have come into the picture, I'm out of here.
The chat. Yeah. Now that feet have entered the chat, we need to end the podcast.
We need to leave.
Yeah.
Now that the feet are here, we gotta go.
We gotta go. Well, thank you very much to everyone for listening. We really enjoy having you here. We enjoy doing this show. It's certainly something, isn't it?
It's definitely a show we do.
Definitely a show we do.
Listen, we're doing very well for three nobodies, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, don't ever talk about yourself like that.
Well, I was talking about all of us, so we were nobody in solidarity.
But if you want to support the show, first off, we'd appreciate it. It'd make us feel pretty good. But you can do so by just following us on our socials. You can find us on Instagram at _triumvirate_productions. Find us on Facebook if you look up the Triumvirate Productions. And also, if you want, you can follow us on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Triumvirate Productions, where we have a whole bunch of fun bonus content for all of y'all, and at a $3, $5, and $10 level. Hey, if you can't support us monetarily, that is absolutely okay. I do want to continue to say every time we talk about our Patreon, we love it when you can support us monetarily, but don't break the bank if it means giving us money. We don't want you to text us somehow because you stole our phone numbers somehow, being like, hey, I went bankrupt because I supported your show. No, I don't want that. We don't want that.
Or maybe the guys from Historical Blunders gave you our address.
Yeah, maybe the guys from Historical Blunders gave you our address. But yeah, if you can support us monetarily, that's great. If you can't, we totally get it. The other thing you can do is find us on iTunes or on Spotify and give us a rating and review. A good rating and review kind of bumps us up the charts and makes it so that the algorithm shows us to more people. Or you can just tell a friend, That's word of mouth is the best way to advertise, and we appreciate it. But yeah, so thanks again for listening. Thanks again to our friends over at Magic Mind. You can get 20% off your order at Magic Mind if you go to magicmind.com/whistory and enter the code WHistory20. Other than that, I think I'm good to go.
And with that, I say...